Welcome once again to XRP Radio. This time we are back with Chris from Wolf Customs. You may remember Chris from talking about his guitar and instrument customizations last year. But one of the biggest things that was said, loads of people were really interested, but a lot of people were saying, this is great. We really want to see some of the customizations that Chris is doing. Thus, we are back in visual format with Chris, and we're going to show some of his work off this time. But firstly, Chris, how are you doing? How's your past year been at Wolf's Customs?
Not bad. Of course, always could be better, but doing well, moving stuff along.
That's always good. Now, I've seen quite an influx. I know last year you'd kind of started toying a bit with the hollow design stuff that you'd been doing, but I've just seen a whole range of instruments. So I'm taking the hollow design stuff is getting a little bit popular.
Yeah, and of course, I'm finding other things I can put it onto, to sell. Like my picks and obviously the instruments, light switch covers, almost anything with a smooth finish. I can apply that hollow flash to.
So let's take a look at one of your designs to start with. This is a hollow flashed guitar, which looks awesome. What is the process in doing this? How do you have to? Do you need to strip down the guitars first? What's kind of the start to finish?
Well, with the hollow flash, that's the good thing. I don't have to strip down anything. Just make sure the surface it's clean and dry, and then it's actually heat transfer vinyl that I put on with a heating iron and layer it to the desired effect.
Okay, and this can literally just go on anything that's clean and smooth.
Yep, pretty much everything I've tried so far has worked out.
Have you had any bizarre asks? Can you hollow flash my trumpet, for instance?
Actually, I did do a snare drum.
Really?
Yep.
Is that when we say snare drum? Are we talking just the rim, or the hardware, or the covers?
Just the side, the body of it.
And that's awesome. That's awesome. So when because obviously having a custom guitar, you want it to be custom. But you've got a few people asking you for these hollow flash guitars. So how do you ensure, or what does ensure that these instruments look different? You're not just mass producing them.
There's almost no way you could make any two the same. Like a snowflake. It's like I said, I put it on layers for one to get more effect of it, but it's almost impossible to copy one from another exact.
So anyone that's coming to you for a hollow flash guitar is going to get something that nobody else is going to get.
Yeah. I mean, they'll look similar, obviously, but if you put them side by side and turn them to where the colors were reflecting off each one at the same time, they would shine different.
Okay, but the hollow flash stuff isn't the only stuff that you've been doing. I've seen a few of this style. Now, this remind me of the famous person that this is marked after.
Yep, it's hard not to recognize that style.
Are these kind of styles done by fans of these bands that are trying to kind of replicate? Part of me feels like this may have been an ask for a tribute band or something.
Pretty much what I've run into in a lot of other places that also do this, especially once Eddie passed. Not everybody can afford an Eddie replica from a store, or they've got one laying around and say, hey, I want this to look like Eddie Van Halen's guitar, and it's gone from there. Not just for me. A lot of people are doing them. and not just the red and white. They're doing the white and the black and the yellow bumblebee. And, it just took
Mhm.
off that everybody wanted it once he passed away.
Do you find these kind of tributes to be a good grouping of your work? Do you find that a famous guitarist will pass away, and all of a sudden there's a lot of influx of people going, "Can you do this?"
Have I had it happen?
Yeah.
No, that this one was the first one that I've done so far. I did do a dual light switch cover for Lou Lombardi, his podcast show. That's in his studio lounge, so we can see it when we watch him live. Um,
That's
but
awesome.
no, I mean everybody's they just like that style for and they'll put it on whatever they want. I've seen guys do like a whole garage door and
Really?
even
Wow.
a driveway. But as
What
far as
what's the weirdest thing that you've customized? What's the weirdest thing that someone's come to you and go, make this look pretty?
uh, boy, hard saying. I've done a couple camouflage um,
Okay.
in certain colors that the customer requested. Not your just greens and brown camo. Um, and then one I'm still kind of perfect. It's turned out so far, except for on one thing, is a 3D water drop effect, to where
Oh, very cool.
when it's done, it looks like it's got water drops on it, but when you touch it, it's totally flat.
Okay, that's really interesting. What inspired you to get into customizing guitars of all things?
Um, well, with my first guitar that I got for Christmas when I was like 14, um, I had it maybe a couple weeks, and of course, Van Halen was big. I believe with either 1984 or OU 812, and of course, like a lot of other people, I wanted it to look like Eddie's guitar, um, but I didn't know squat on painting back then. I just laid some tape down and got out some model paint and brushed it on to look similar, and got away from it. It wasn't nothing I was looking into doing then, just because of my age, for one. And then getting older, getting more guitars, and seeing more of the different paint jobs out there. You watch a shit ton of videos, and you're seeing all kinds of different paint jobs and customization. And I had another one wound up getting laying around, and uh, gave it a chameleon flip flop paint. Um,
Okay.
and then did a couple transparent colored ones, which I sold on eBay. Then got away with it again because had a couple kids, and then
Okay.
so it's like always coming and going. Um, and and then too, having the time and the supplies and all, the
Mhm.
space to do it. But finally, it's come this far with me and my wife Holly or Raven. She's the artist, and we've kind of just taken it, and not full blown. I mean, we still got to have a regular job to support everything. Hopefully, one of these days, but I'll be able to not work for the man and just do this every day.
I think we all have that dream. We all have that dream.
Right?
Um, so talking about your wife being an artist and getting involved, would that have something to do? Correct me if I'm wrong. With some of these kind of customizations where you're going more into the artwork.
Actually, that one that is wood burned, and that was by her daughter Celeste. She
Oh well, so
jumps
it's
in
a
it.
whole family ordeal now.
Oh yeah, well, everybody's got their own talents, and if we need something from somebody, then we all jumped in one way or another.
That's a great way to work. That's awesome. Um, so when you get to this, kind of came from you wanting to customize a guitar when you were young. Is that something that you've just naturally always done to your guitars from that moment on?
Yeah, in a way, I've changed them. Either adding something, taking something away, changing the whole outlook on them. There's one in your list that I sent you. It's one of my daily or one of my main players of mine that I threw in LED lights underneath the bridge.
I love this one. Yeah. When as soon as I saw this, my instant reaction was just Star Wars lightsabers. It just
Yeah,
has that feel, especially with the matte black body as well. It's just
yeah,
it's such a simple little design, but it works so well. That's my favorite of what you've sent over.
awesome.
Um, what's it like? I don't know whether you have much to consider there, but what's it like when you? Because I presume you have to physically drill into that guitar and make space for the LED to fit and make sure it's in the right place and stuff. When you've got a guitar that's been designed for a certain kind of sound and you're adding layers of lacquer or the hollow film painting it or whatever, I don't know this, but is there any precautions or considerations that you have to do? Maybe not add too much paint or make sure that the integrity of the sound of the instrument is still in play, or is that something that you don't really have to consider?
So far, anything that I've done, I've had to consider that. I even had one that um, the guy wanted to fill in one of the pickup holes, so I filled it in and even it out with the rest of the body, and then painted over that, and that didn't have anything changing tone or anything like that. Um,
Okay.
and as far as body modifications, that's probably the biggest one I've had to do. I haven't had to drill holes or anything in it. And with the LED one there, that's just sitting behind the bridge from the back side
Okay.
and running
It
off a.
just works incredibly well. That one does.
It fits right in the back and runs off a 9-volt battery.
Does it have its own little switch, or is it just glowing for life?
That one I kind of uh, rigged to where when I wanted it on, I just grabbed the wires and twist them together, and then. But yeah, I can. Depending on the next time I do that, whether for myself or a customer, yeah, a switch is in a definite possibility.
And talking about, well, switches and electronics, did you suddenly find that you had to learn a little bit about electronics for when you're? Because I presume on some of the customizations you'll have to take some of the electronics out and then put them back in afterwards.
Yeah, I didn't have to learn a whole lot. Pretty much, it's
Pull it back where you found it.
so yeah, pretty much. And I'll take if it looks too difficult wiring wise. Usually, I don't have to undo any wires. I could tape everything off to where it's only going on the body itself. Even the pickups, I'll just layer them with tape to where they don't get paint. But I do pick up swaps, so that requires cutting the old wires and wiring back in.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just to make sure you've got to get you to look at it. I'll take a picture to know which ones went where, and sometimes the colors on the new one wires don't match the others, so you go look for a schematic or something online. And
Mm.
the hardest thing with that is just the soldering.
Yeah.
So nothing
Um,
major.
Now, this is one that worries me because I am very precious over my personal instruments, and I like the idea of having them customized. But part of me is like, what if I don't like what you've done? Have you ever had anyone that's like, can you customize this? You give it them back and go, oh, I wanted it a different color or something. Have you ever come across any issues like that?
No, thank God.
That's lucky.
Now I've had it to where they requested um, a certain like pattern uh, to where at the time I wasn't able to pull it off.
Hmm.
Uh, and then we would just throw ideas back and forth. I always take their word, what they want, what their colors. It's their money, it's their instrument. I don't care what it looks like as far as
True.
color wise and design. Uh, as long as the finish is good, the job's good. You know, um, because that's their money, that's what they're paying for, and if they want it,
Hmm.
puke green, then there you go. That's what they get. You know, I'm not going to talk you out of the
Understandable.
color because I don't like it. Um, but yeah, I haven't had anybody come back. I have actually redone one because I didn't feel myself was good enough to give it back to them when I was done with it.
Oh,
And
that's.
it
I
was,
mean, that's heartening to know that you've got some self-built quality control in there.
yeah, that was a whole base, the body, front and back, the back of the neck, and the headstock. We're talking all of it was refinished, and like I said, it was good enough. I would say, but I just kept looking at it and looking at it. I said, no, there's something about it, and I stripped it back down and redid it,
Okay,
and
so
he loved it.
with with
Of course, he had to wait a little
with
bit longer,
well, yeah.
but yeah,
But if it
I was satisfied with the overall project, and so was he.
excellent. Well, I mean, this comes before because if you had to send well, redo one because you weren't happy with it. I presume this is a talent, this is a skill that you have to make something, to make an end product that good. I presume takes some kind of practice, but I presume you don't have an endless line of free guitars to customize. So how do you kind of come up with an art concept that you're then going to take to the guitar?
Got what?
How do you come up with like an art concept that you're then going to put on guitars?
Um, as far as like a visualization to look at when I'm doing them.
Yeah, well, my thought is, I mean, obviously you're going to want to hollow flash something. Like, do you practice doing stuff on bits of wood or random things first? Is there kind of a process that you do first till you're happy to then go and customize someone's actual instrument?
Well, as far as the hollow flash, that's the good thing. You can't really mess it up.
Okay.
And like I said, just to get a more reflective effect to it, you just layer and layer and layer. Um, and that with, say you were doing that, I was doing it to one of your guitars right now. I would lay a bunch of hollow flash on, take a picture of it, send it to you, and say, is this enough flash or do you want more? You'd say yay
Okay.
or nay, and we go from there. When it comes to paint, it'll depend on, yes, the type. Say if I'm doing a transparent finish to where the wood grain still shows through, but you've got a clear colored layer on top.
Hmm.
Those I would test out beforehand to get the color correct.
Okay. Um. So what's your typical turnaround? Because obviously you're here hoping that you may intrigue a few people into getting some customizations done. Hopefully. But yeah, what like stage one? Firstly, um, I'm in England, so I presume we're not going to be shooting instruments between states. So what's your area that you're happy to work in?
So far, I've just dealt, here in the U.S.
Hmm.
And I've got one in my shop now that's from California. The hollow flash drum I was telling you about that came from Georgia. So I've shipped, already around the U.S. Now I do get my film, the hollow flash film, out of the UK,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
but I'm not going to say where.
Good point. But I am here, so if you want me to go shopping for you,
Right on. Yeah, we can come up with
I've
some
got
type
no
of deal
problem with
there.
that.
It
No, no
depends
problem.
really on the turnaround. We've had some throwbacks this year to the ones I've got in my shop now. Uh, Taking a little bit longer. On average, if you just want to make a black guitar white, or just a simple,
Mm,
one color change, and depending on um, the actual shape of the guitar, is beat up and then slammed around and this and that with chunks of wood taken out. Different. If it's like perfect, you just bought it at the store, but you
mm,
want it a different color. You know, um, once it's in my hands, to where I'm done and fully reassembled it, if I had to, and depending
mm.
on how much, something that simple will be like 6 months,
Okay, okay.
just because
So
I work out of my house.
yeah, I mean, you doing it kind of one small job at a time until you got your factory. I take it, pretty much. So that's understandable. And for custom work, handmade custom work, that's an admirable time frame for working with. In some cases, my pride and joy.
Yeah.
It's you got a lot of trust. I mean, you are dealing with people's babies, quite literally. So you must feel well trusted.
Oh yeah. I Yeah, especially if I'm meeting somebody local and they don't have a case for it, I'll bring a case along, just to make sure gets back to my house, in one piece alone. And then, of course, once it's done, it's in a case and back into their hands. And once it's in their hands, if something happens, then for not having a case, then that's their fault. But
And then you mentioned a second ago about if the guitar comes and there's chunks of wood and it's beaten up or something, it'll take longer. But are you indicating that like you can repair the bodies and make them whole again?
the ones I've had so far, yes. It just depends on the amount of damage, how extreme it is. A lot of them, you're playing in your jam room, whatever, your bedroom, what have you, and you go to turn around real quick, and oh, there's a desk there, puts a little knot, a little dent in it, something like that. That's easy. Um,
Okay.
if you got something where you were playing around in Dad's garage one day and whipped out a saw and was like, "Oh, I'm going to cut this off." Then I'm going to be like,
Yeah.
"Well, you should have saved that piece. I could have put it back on for you." But thank God, nothing like that has come across.
Awesome. Lastly, I wanted to just make a point of the fact that you have gave us some absolutely wonderful prizes for our ZERPATHON raffle. In fact, you've done it so every single raffle winner will or should get one of these. So, firstly, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Um, but secondly, just to show our listeners, these are the Hollow Flash picks that you could win if you donate to XRP Radio. One's going out with every raffle ticket. So you usually are these something that you make often that you have a calling for?
Um, Usually I've got maybe 10 to 20 already done, ready to go. Um, I buy my picks in bulk, so I don't actually make the pick itself.
Mm-hmm.
But I buy them from a certain source, and then I just, hollow flash them from there. And as you can see, when I was talking about nothing's the same, you can look at any one of those picks there, and none are exact.
And
I
I,
do hollow flash both sides, um, and then also upon the buyer's request, I can put a small hole in them to where they can put them on an earring or a necklace, what have you.
I was going
Uh,
to say that these specifically, the guitars do look wonderful, but these, because of the smallness of them, they're almost jewelry like.
yeah, yeah, kind of like a certain rock crystal or something.
Yeah, they're very nice. Just out of interest, I say this tentatively because I don't want to upset you if they don't. But how do they play? Like, does the flashing come off, or is that like fully on there till you lose the pick?
Um, well, the only one I've a customer that I've talked to, um, he said he wore the pick out itself before the hollow flash came off.
Oh, wicked.
So it was he played it so hard he wore the pick down to nothing, and the hollow flash was never came off. So that's another thing I do offer with that, especially on the guitars. I don't put a clear coat over it unless it's requested, especially anybody local, because in case they did ding it or somehow scratch some of it off, it is possible um, that I can take that guitar back and just relayer over that spot that they
All
somehow
right.
rubbed it off and
So
get
so
back
it's
to for nothing.
I mean that's a very nice offer for one, but that's something that you can't do with a lot of customizations. Once it's dinged, it's a
Yeah,
redo. But yeah, with the hollow flash, you can just kind of patch over it, and
just right over. Yeah, just go over it again. Now,
that's
if I clear
excellent.
coated it, I would have to do a refinish. I'd have to take the
Okay.
clear coat off and then fix it and then re-clear it. But um, what I've run into, some other people have run into, some of the clear coats out there will take away the color to where it's
Okay.
just silver. And I haven't tested it enough to know which ones are which because I don't normally, I haven't, used clear over it. I haven't had that
Mm.
request. Um, but I think it's got something to do with that being a clear layer. When the light goes through the clear and hits the hollow flash, the reflection coming back up through the clear, I
Oh
think,
wow.
gets distorted. And then some clears you won't have any of that color left. Something in the
Wow.
chemicals or
So a
something.
bit of
But
physics in it as well.
yeah,
Why?
but
I mean, it's great.
if somebody does want it cleared, I will, put it on something else and find the clear that
Just
will not change it before I do their guitar.
I mean, it seems that you could be coming into a lot of additional costs having to test things out and make sure they work. Is this a common factor of custom work that you kind of have to spend some money and try something out before you actually do it?
Well, typically, say a new customer wants yada yada done. I only ask for a $50 deposit, and that's when we're in our consultation on what they're wanting, what colors, what have you. That gives me an idea what I'm going to need for that particular job and supply wise, because I don't stock a lot of stuff, obviously, being out of my house. So I just asked for a $50 deposit to get the supplies for just that job. And then I also let them, especially if they're close, or if not, they could always, PayPal, whatever. If they want like a week later to send me another partial payment or this and that, that way at the end, they're not chunking out, two,
Yeah.
$300 of one shot, minus that 50. So that's always something. And I've come into things where, and not a lot, thank God, to where I'd have to get additional supplies for a certain job and
Hmm.
gone from there with it. But yeah, and then testing out stuff that can always be done on scrap wood I can find anywhere, and as long as it's close and I'm doing the same thing to that I'm going to be doing onto their product, then it works out as far as making sure it works.
Excellent. Well, to slowly start wrapping this up, and for anyone that we have interested, if people do want some custom work from you, Chris, where should they go?
As of right now, easiest would be our Facebook page or Instagram.
So
The
that's
website is down at the moment for construction, so you can just Wolf Customs slash Facebook and what's the Instagram?
Wolf's Customs Artist.
Wolf's Customs Artists on Instagram.
excellent.
You'll see
So
more. at the moment, right now, as far as pictures on the Wolf Customs Facebook, we're adding more to the Instagram because we had some account issues with somebody wanting our stuff more than we did, and they kind of hacked us.
Oh, we've been there before. That's incredibly annoying, but I hope it gets sorted out as soon as possible for you.
Yeah, we
And
just went ahead and made a new page, a new name, and like I said, we're still loading that one up with previous pictures. As long as we can get to them. But yeah,
excellent.
Facebook, and then you can message on there. Email should be on there also. Um, and yeah, everything should be at least on the Facebook page.
Excellent.
Just a
Wicked.
link.
So, if sorry, what was that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, if anyone out there is interested by this, Chris has been a great supporter of independent music across the whole board. So if you know anyone that's interested or wanting that instrument that is theirs, get in touch with us. Get in touch with Chris. He's the go-to guy. I know, Chris, you've worked closely with Bill over at Build the Scene, and just generally being a champion of kind of independent music and creativity. So from all of us unsigned and independent musicians out there, thank you for your support, and thank you for joining me this evening.
Oh, thank you for having me back again.
Tell him
It's a pleasure.
the link.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, my wife posted the link in the comments.
Yeah, I can see them. I'm bringing them up. So yeah, just grab those links on Facebook and Insta. Chris, it's been a pleasure to speak to you. I have a whole ordeal of the rest of my evening, night, morning, afternoon, evening, and night to get through. But I must catch up with you because you're always popping up to me, and then we have half a conversation, and then we don't finish it.
Right.
So we
Yeah,
must
definitely.
catch up after this. But like I said at the start of this, now is your minute to say whatever you want to whoever you want in the world.
Well, just shout out to all my previous customers. Of course, shout out to my wife. She's the better half and the artist of Wolves. Friends, family, everything. And to any new coming customers headed our way, we appreciate it and be glad to make your instrument more something that you wanted from the get-go.
Beautiful. Chris, it's been a pleasure speaking to you again. And again, sometime this week, we're catching up so we can finish these 7 conversations that we've had.
Right on. Sounds great.
Right. See you later, mate. Have a good rest of your evening.
Oh, you too. Take care now.
Bye. That was Chris from Wolf Customs. You finally get to see some of the instruments after last year's conversation, which loads of people were so interested in, and unfortunately didn't get to see the pictures. So there you go. That's it for this interview. We have got Grave Huffer coming up very shortly. So for this visual stream, see you later.